This is Ned's AFL Unpopular Opinions with Alastair Lynch, Tom Rockliff and Dylan Leach.
Welcome to this week's Unpopular Opinions, Neds. G'day punters, we're back here. We've had another multi-loss, but an incredible round of footy. We're a man down. Dylan Leach is not with us. He's ventured off to producing roles, I believe, down with the Nine Network down in Sydney while the Olympics are on. So we've got Ryan Cook joining us for the full episode this week instead of the snapshot. Welcome, Ryan.
Thanks, Tommy. Very calm intro compared to what I'm used to on this show, but yeah, good to be here.
Yes, I don't have the 18 pages written down like Dylan reading the script. I thought it'd be just more natural today. So we've got you in here, your Hawks, up and about. We'll get to them a little bit later, but joining us every week, Lynchy, Alastair Lynch, 300 plus games, 3 flags, does it all in the game. Had the weekend off though.
Had an RDO over the weekend. I don't know, actually, I would have rather done 3 games on the road because I had to host a 21st birthday party with 80 kids at home.
Ooh. You had to host it?
Yeah.
What does that involve?
Well, a lot of folding to supply the drinks, that's for sure, and then nerve-wracking walk around the house to make sure everyone's out of the rooms and out the back singing and dancing.
Did you have a wedding as well earlier this year?
Yeah, that was 12 months ago. Yeah, I tell you, they don't miss you.
Weddings and 21st.
Yeah. No, so it's adding up.
Lucky you.
You got all that to look forward to. I mean, the weddings.
You got plenty.
The weddings, they don't. Well, I think my daughter sort of Googled most expensive joint in Queensland to get married. That's the one we want. Going, oh, beautiful.
So you'll be doing this show for the next 15 years.
Yeah.
But
he's committed.
Ripping round of footy. I think it's as even competition as we've seen over the last, probably since we've had an 18-team competition. So no one wants to win it. Sydney lost 4 out of their last 5. The top 8's pretty even. Probably 2 spots up for grabs still, potentially. Port Adelaide, Western Bulldogs, Geelong, Giants, Carlton all on sort of 48 points. The Dogs sneak into the 8. The Hawks are right there as well. Who would have thought that after about round 6? I think they've gone on and won 10 or 11 out of their last 12, 13, Ron.
Yeah, it's we were talking before the show about the Dogs and the Hawks, 2 coaches that were on the hot seat only 6 weeks ago, and now both are probably the 2 in-form sides in the competition. As a Hawks fan, it's sort of frustrating that we're not in the 8 already because it feels like we should be, but that's the backlog of teams trying to get a spot in there. I don't think anyone would want to play the Dogs right now either, or in September, so it's very exciting.
You're right. They're flying, the Hawks. I mean, after that, obviously, horrendous start, and there was pressure, like happens in the industry. There's pressure on the coach straight away, even though Sam's only a couple of years into the job. A lot of pressure. Now they're on this winning streak and sitting just a percentage out of the top 8. They would be tough to take on in the run home. They're going to at least do an enormous amount of damage in this finals race. I think they'll make it. They'll get in there. Well, they've got the Giants this week. The Giants aren't flying. No. They're winning, but they're not absolutely flying. And what they did to the Crows over the weekend, I thought was great. I mean, it was a spectacle. They were too fast, too skillful, too tough, and I mean, obviously the Crows at selection, they probably buggered that up a bit with going for the talls up forward.
Talls, yeah.
Well, as Lee Matthews always used to say, if the talls aren't marking it, you just slow defenders. And yeah, you've got to mark it and have a presence. But with 4 bigs and the way Hawthorn play, it was a roll of the dice. We're going to catch it and destroy them, or we're going to be too slow, which turned out to be the case.
They do have injury concerns, the Crows, but they'd be disappointed with that because they started their rebuild before Hawthorn, and Hawthorn made them look second rate yesterday on their home deck. Talking of the Hawks, they've probably got to win 3 on the way home.
Yeah, it's a tough run home too.
Giants.
You've done your ladder predictor to work this out.
Well, no, I'm just saying they just sit outside the 8. Yeah. They've got 2 games that you put them down for wins. They've got Richmond and North Melbourne in the last 2 weeks, but they're going to have to beat either Carlton or the Giants. Giants on the road, Carlton in Melbourne.
Not a great record in Canberra either from what I can recall. So that's this week's game against GWS is massive. And you're calling that, Lynchy.
So, yeah, I'll be there. Yeah. It'll be probably 3 degrees. That's actually usually good conditions, but I'm really looking forward to this game. I think probably early in the year you would think Giants will go in heavy favourites. But this is a 50-50 game, I would have thought. Just the speed against... The Giants are trying to get their speed up and going, but they're struggling in the midfield. And I think just the even contribution from Hawthorn is why they're so dangerous at the moment. So this will be a cracking game. Looking forward to it.
If you're a coach, you playing Sicily down back this week with the form that Jesse Hogan's been in?
Yeah, but Sicily wouldn't play on Hogan though, would he?
No, probably
but
not.
But you need him
but,
down there
yeah.
to be jumping over the top. Hogan's the form forward in the comp over probably the last 8 weeks, I would have thought. Started the season well, had a bit of a lean patch when they started to drop down a bit. But he's the one, and we talk about, you look at some of the forwards and call even Ben King, who's just going through a shocking couple of weeks as far as his goal kicking. But with that goal kicking drop away and having been in that spot before, you almost your presence drops away as well. So you don't draw the ball in. He hasn't got a massive presence in the forward line. Jesse Hogan, he's taken pack marks in, packs of 4 and 5 and just coming out with clunking the ball. He draws the ball, and that's what you want from a forward. Even if you're not converting your opportunities, you want this presence, and he's doing it beautifully.
Are we saying it's down to 9? Are we saying put a line through Essendon, Melbourne, Collingwood?
I don't think I can put a line through Melbourne just yet. I think they're going to be a dangerous team over these next 4 weeks that'll be looking to play spoiler. But yeah, I'd happily put a line through Essendon. Collingwood as well, just given their injuries. Essendon are another conversation piece altogether, aren't they?
Well, Essendon, they were top 4. They were going to sign Dodoro for another 20 years. Thought they were the back, but I don't think they can play finals now. They got Fremantle this weekend. That might wrap up their season. Melbourne's draw is pretty tough. They got the Dogs, Port Adelaide, Gold Coast up on the Gold Coast, which we know is a tough road trip. So I think it's down to 9.
I reckon it's 9. I reckon it is 9.
Yeah.
Out of those 9, who's the coach of the year? And you mentioned Sam Mitchell before. You've got Bevo, who's been every 4 weeks is getting the flick. Port Adelaide, Kenny's getting the flick every 4 weeks and could even get the flick in 4 weeks. Chris Scott. Geelong were under pressure, not so much Chris. The Giants, they were struggling for about 6 weeks. Now, Vossi, they're under the pump because Carlton have fallen off. Freo, you had
I had him gone.
You were the Coke and Sauce halfway through the year.
But pre-season, that was me headline of the year that he didn't get the ask, but then they signed him a week later.
Signed him for 6
No one will remember that, don't we?
No, we won't repeat it. I mean, Mitchell's, I think, coach of the year out of those 9
We got
teams.
Fagan as well, and then
Fagan's done an
Horse as
exceptional job, I think, after the poor start. And that's the thing, the yin and yang. How do you get to that situation? And they had some injury concerns. Now, I think they're the most potent team in the competition because not so much because of individual brilliance. I mean, Lachie Neale's back to his best, and that helps. You need your guns playing well, but they're spread through the midfield. They've never had that before. Rayner hasn't played at this level before. Ashcroft, who's only getting, 20 touches?
20s, yeah.
He makes them such a better club. Yeah. I mean, he just puts people into space. So I think Brisbane are the most dangerous. But then where are Sydney at? So where do you feel they're at?
Well, they're just hanging on at the moment, aren't they?
So 4 of the last 5 they've dropped?
4 out of the last 5.
So 1 to North.
Horse would be the coach of the year if they had won 2 or 3 of them because they're still a game and a half clear on top. They'd nearly sew that up. They take on Port Adelaide this week, which you'd expect them to probably bounce back. I don't know where they're at, though. They're not the dominant team. Maybe they peaked a little bit early. Maybe they can get back to their absolute best. Just on the Brisbane Lions, if their small forwards get going, if Charlie Cameron gets going and Zach Bailey, who I think still trying to find his feet back from injury, if they get going, they'll be near impossible to stop. So Sydney, they need to just start to find some form heading towards finals, as silly as that sounds. You don't want to be limping into finals.
Yeah, well, it's twofold, I reckon. They had that massive winning streak in the first 2/3 of the season, so everyone's looking at the way they play, and no doubt everyone stops them trying to get into the corridor out of their defensive 50. Blakey was the key, so they've stopped his ability to get into the middle, and they've got the injuries that have come through. So Rowbottom, Rampy, McInerney, now Melican, Papley.
Yeah.
There's some great players that are now lost.
Good point.
And Heaney's gone from can't lose the Brownlow medal to back to a human level.
Yeah.
He's not flying. Warner had bugger all touches on the weekend, so he's just come off a little bit. So and we spoke about this, I think, 5 or 6 weeks ago. I reckon their greatest asset, outside their superstars, their greatest asset is the likes of McInerney, Rowbottom, Melican, Rampy, that's second tier that are so good. And Papley, he's like a barometer.
It's not a surprise that their pressure's sort of dropped off in the last couple of weeks too when you mentioned that list of outs. I saw them play that Brisbane game a couple of weeks ago and they just fell off in the final quarter. allowed the Lions back into it. So
Oh, yeah, because they were 3 down essentially.
Yeah.
Haywood was on the ground,
Yeah.
but limping.
and Papley came off, I think, in the third quarter.
And
yeah.
and Rampy was off.
Yeah.
So Papley was gone in the second quarter.
Yeah.
Rampy gone in the second quarter. So was Haywood, but they put him back out there. So all's not lost, obviously.
No.
They get some players back, but it is testing depth, and you want to go into finals with a bit of form under your belt.
Who can win it? So we're down to 9. Do we think all those 9 can win it? I think it's pretty open.
I reckon Sydney can win it. Brisbane can win it. Freo have surprised me. I don't know whether Freo can win it at the MCG yet, but they're playing great footy. Carlton can win it, but they're going nowhere near it at the moment. But they could win it. And this is where this season is unusual because you're having blocks of periods where teams are playing poorly. Giants, their midfield have to change.
But they could win it if they play their best football.
Oh, yeah.
Think about the run that they finished last year.
Geelong's midfield is just not quite there.
I don't think Geelong can win it.
No, I think they're struggling.
You've said that before.
Yeah, I know.
You might get them up. So Geelong will struggle. Port will struggle. Bulldogs can win it.
Bulldogs can win it. So you reckon it's down to 6? Hawks can make it but not win it.
I think Hawthorn's too young. I'm always a believer in the theory that young teams have to earn their scars in any sport in the finals.
But the Dogs of 16?
But the flip side with that is they've got no scars. And the way they're celebrating and playing with this enthusiasm, they're going to get a smack some stage. But
there's no expectations.
And they're flying along. They don't know. They haven't got the scars, and the scars can cause anxiety. You think, we're on the brink here. They're just loving life at the moment. It'll come, but at the moment they're flying. I don't think they could win it.
No.
But absolutely in 8th position, the Bulldogs can win it. When you got, I haven't looked at the stats. Rory Lobb must be 207.
Yeah,
he's
tall.
very tall. Like the big key defenders now are. And forwards are 203, 204, like Harris Andrews 204.
Yeah.
He's 207. Sam Darcy must be about 208, 209. They got the ruckman in the middle of the ground. They got and Ugle Hagen's plays and he's best footy. And their midfield's always been thereabouts as in that conversation for best midfield in the comp. It is they could win it. They could win it. Rory Lobb's the move of the year.
Well, he was on a scrap heap. He was nearly out the door.
Well, I think that's the theory, because I reckon a lot of good defenders have been trialled failed forwards. Look at Stephen May, one of the premier defenders over the last 10 years, really, or 8 years. He was a failed forward, and the Gold Coast just rolled him back, see how he goes as the last chance. And I reckon it was a game at the MCG, and then he started spoiling everything. He's a competitor, and he goes on to have a great career. Maybe Rory Lobb at that height, because he was sort of in between, wasn't he, as a forward? He wasn't quite a ruckman, wasn't quite a forward.
No, that's right. I think Lynchy just wanted to say only special players can do it at full back and full forward because
you make a good
pat on the back.
The one thing you touched on before that I want to go back to briefly is Ben King and the yips, because we've seen that on the weekend in front of goal. You're a key forward. You would have gone through it at some point. How does he fix it?
Oh, as it builds, almost need a circuit breaker where you've got to stop thinking about the end result. So what is he kicked 1 goal from 12 shots over the last few weeks?
Yeah, and the one goal was 15 out directly in front and just scraped in by a coat of paint.
So what happens there, and I know what he's going through, he's thinking, he knows exactly those stats. He knows exactly what's going on. He's thinking the worst thing that he doesn't want a shot dead in front from 30 metres, because everyone in the stadium, the commentators in the commentary box, were saying, he can't miss this.
Yep.
He's thinking that. When you get to that stage, I can't miss this. So he's thinking about, I've got to kick this. I can't miss it. So he's thinking about the end result. Whereas he's got a flawed, he's got a flawed kicking action where he does sit back on the ball a little bit and he's got a high ball drop. So the gap where you can make an error is huge. And so he's got to be going back to whatever he's comfortable doing in the process. So whether it's head over the ball, straight ball drop, let the result look after itself. That's what worked for me when I went through a couple of horrific runs. You've got to get away from thinking about the end result, and you've got to start thinking about what's important to you. For me, it was keep the head over the ball, because I used to fall back. And with my high ball drop, I used to steer it onto my foot much better and keep the head down. and just swing through and exaggerate. I reckon the last 8 years of my career, my exaggerated head over the ball was part of my routine that worked for me. It cost me probably 5 metres in length, but helped me with accuracy. Or whatever it is, say Matthew Lloyd, with the throw on the grass up. He's got to have a routine that he's comfortable with and he goes to each time and doesn't think about the end result because he's thinking about the end result at the moment. And your teammates lose confidence in you as well. And you lose confidence. It's like you have the yip with the putts. You don't want the putt.
Yeah.
Or you know now that you're going to have 3 putts every hole or 4 putts every hole, you've got to drive the green.
Why are you looking at me when you say this?
That's a good point. So you end up thinking, I've got to drive the green from 400 because I'm going to have 4 putts. So the other parts of your game fall apart.
Yeah.
So he's got to come back to these little boring things.
Fundamentals.
Yeah, that help you kick straight.
At this level, though, do you have trainers in your ear during the week telling you how to fix it, or is the player sort of just left to his own devices?
Yeah, there'd be someone speaking to him.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
They'd have development coaches, etc. Just working on routine. They'd go back, watch vision of when he's doing it well, take him through it. But it's so hard to replicate game day to training because training you can go out there.
Yeah.
You can have 100 shots, you kick 98 of them, but the fatigue factor of a game, the crowd pressure,
the silence
conditions,
of the crowd.
Yeah.
The silence of the crowd when you're lining up and you know everyone's looking at you. You can try to replicate that. In some clubs put crowd noise or music. Nothing. You can't replicate it. The other thing that's probably happening is he's probably got 5 or 6 people talking to him at the moment about what to do.
Yep.
He's got to speak to one person that knows him. So an old mentor, Matthew Lloyd, I'd be speaking to Matthew Lloyd and blocking out the other people and saying, what do you see in my action? And have 2 or 3 things max that he goes to, the chucking the grass up, head over the ball. So, and that's listen to one person because you can't. I mean, people want to help you. Genuine people want to help you, but what you read out of a textbook is different to what I need, and what you see is different to what I need. Need one consistent message.
Yeah, let's move on to 2 teams that are just shit. Let's talk about Essendon and the Adelaide Crows. Let's start with the Bombers.
Do we have to?
Start with the Bombers. Top 4. You're the numbers, man. They're fall from grace. They were up and about. Thought the finals drought was over for them, but they look like they're on their knees and just hanging on and touched up by St Kilda team that 3 or 4 weeks ago couldn't score.
Yeah.
Had their way with them.
I was looking at the stats from this game. I think they gave up 20 marks inside 50 to St Kilda. St Kilda's not a team that kicks a lot of points or kicks a lot of goals. So to do that just says it all to me. As you said, it's been a massive free fall from the top 4, now sitting 10th. Hard to build a case that they're going to somehow sneak into the 8. Lost 4 of their last 5. And I just think there's a handful of players here that probably need to be called out. I know they've had some key injuries, but guys like McGrath, it's a tough time to be a Bombers fan.
Well, I was serving assays at this time, so I actually didn't see the game, but I heard a lot about it. But yeah, I think, and knowing Brad about, he come through the Lee Matthews School, and Lee was really very strong on non-negotiables. So if you're going to, compromise those, you can't play in the team. So I would think there'd be a strong message at selection this week. There has to be, because it's not just about raw talent, and they're getting to a stage where culturally it's their game's been challenged. So I think, there'll be a few changes. There has to be a few changes at match committee this week, and have you set your standards. So that's non-negotiables, whatever it is. And I think I heard in Brad's post-match, he was devastated by the pressure applied, the way the players went at it. Well, they can't play. And if you're going to give a kid a chance that's too early, or someone that hasn't performed at VFL level, but if they're going to do the right thing around the pressure or whatever he was asking, I think you've got to make that stance.
There must have been a lot of Jason Ackermanis's running around for Essendon in the third quarter. They had 0 hard ball gets for the whole quarter. Because Jason used to turn the hard ball into a loose ball with his speed.
He did. He was too fast.
One of the great stories, that one.
It was too quick for a hard ball get.
It's quite incredible to go a whole quarter without a hard ball get. So they would have they got a message at three-quarter time, just effort and intent. And I think the captain leads from the front, Merritt, so he tries to throw them on their back. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, no one came with him on the weekend, and they're back there. And potentially, I don't think they play finals again this year.
And he's one of the most impressive stories in footy over the last half a dozen years, getting the arse from the leadership group.
Yeah.
Went away, raised his standards, worked hard, led beautifully. I mean, there's some great leaders in the competition, but you'd be very happy with him leading your club. It's just a shame that he hasn't got that depth of support.
Yes, and then the Adelaide Crows, where they're at, we know where they're at last year. They a kick away, potentially a goal umpiring decision from playing finals. The first half of the season was really poor. Looked like they'd recaptured some of that form. And then on the weekend, they put up 5 goals, 6 in the first quarter. The Hawks 5 goals, and then they kicked 1 goal until about the 29-minute mark of the last quarter, where Tex kicks one, and then they get another late goal through Tilthorpe. Lynchy spoke about the 4 key forwards inside 50. It doesn't work. They had a couple of injuries down back. Dawson not there. So there is a few things that they can tinker with. But the Adelaide Crows, gee whiz, they were disappointing.
Yeah, Lynchy can probably talk a bit more about their list, but I feel like they're just cut from the same cloth as Essendon almost. They're not a team that has that grit about them or that determination to go out and win the hard ball, the contested footy. And you saw that against Hawthorn on Sunday. The Hawks just wanted it more. I think they do need to shake things up there. And this would be a very disappointing end to the season for Matthew Nicks. Looked like they could at least, cause a few upsets, but to come out and, especially after the first quarter, they played a good first quarter against Hawthorn and then it just fell away. So, yeah, that's tough.
Well, you've lived it.
Yeah.
Lived the Port Adelaide rivalry and the scrutiny. I mean, they're under the pump. You're right. I mean, but shit happens. I mean, bad decision. Yeah, they could have been in the 8 last year. You would think they would have kicked on and been around the same sort of area. They've underperformed a buggery, haven't they?
Oh, massively. Massively.
Yeah.
Their start to the season, the way they started, they get up for showdowns and that's about it.
Yeah.
They were giving up leads, and it's more, you couldn't question their intent and effort last year. I think you can this year.
Yeah.
So that's more so on the playing group. So they need to have a look at themselves this week. I think come out, make sure they respond, but gee, they're in for testing time. They haven't played final since 2017. They were in that grand final. So it's been a long time for Crows fans as well.
So you're saying that intensity. How's their list look? Well, just as a passive watcher of the Crows, not sure they've got that class through the midfield, or some of those, the younger half-forward midfielders haven't risen to that elite category.
They've got a lot of the same, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like the guys that are on the fringe, McHenry, Schoenberg, these guys, but through the midfield, Saligo's going to be a player, I think. Scholl's been improved, but you got Berry, Laird, Murphy. They're all very similar. They're high draft picks. So I think they've made mistakes at the draft over the last couple of years. Their key position, their tall stocks down forward are pretty good. Down back, they're still a little bit vulnerable.
Yeah.
Whether you look at potentially moving one of them on, there's talk about Tex, whether he goes on or not, or goes on another club. I think he plays there again, but is it time to move on a Himmelberg or someone like that, or try him as a backman?
And see if you can get some draft capital to get elite talent. Yeah, there's a lot of honest midfielders there. But where's the next? Where's another Rankin with that elite class that can rip a game apart?
We thought we sort of had that with Rochelle last year. Rochelle was the big storyline over those first 6 weeks. Where would you rate his season this year? Do you think he's underperformed? Or
again, not watching every game, you sort of the expectations were him and maybe one other actually go to in that All-Australian discussion for midfield. Now, he doesn't have to get in it, but he's got to be in the discussion.
Yeah.
Thought that's where he signed a big deal, didn't he?
Yeah, so he had a 3-year and then they extended him by another 2. Ridiculous, in my opinion. You lose a bit of hunger. Whether you do consciously or subconsciously, you lose a bit of hunger, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you know that you signed for 5 years, and he's taken a step back, he's been questioned at times about his commitment to the footy, so he needs to have a big summer. He needs to push into the midfield, help Rankin, because Rankin's not there at the moment, but you think Rankin, Rochelle, Dawson, their can be potential superstars in the competition. Dawson is already. Rankin was well on his way. Rochelle's the one that sort of hasn't come on yet.
Yeah.
He needs a big summer, big pre-season to get him going. But moving our attention to the big 400 gamer, massive game on Saturday night. The Pies take on the Blues. Scotty Pendlebury, 400 games.
So is it 92, 93,000 go to watch this game?
I think so.
Easily.
You think the hype around Dusty's, 300th? You got one of the absolute greats of the game at one of the biggest clubs in the country playing game 400 And he doesn't look that too dissimilar to the person that was playing 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, just his class, his time and space that he has. Yeah, I think early 90,000s will be a huge sell out there. And how good. What a great player. What a great AFL leader. I think I heard him on the radio in the last couple of days. He's just one of those guys you think, yeah, he knows what he's talking about, and just a class act on and off the field.
I think he'd be a great coach if when he does decide to retire. But we did speak off air, 2028, Tasmania come in.
What I reckon, get him to play for us.
Playing coach.
Oh, we'll make light of it to start with.
How many years would you sign him for?
Nah, I think he's a classic example. What he is a classic example. If he was playing, it's a few years too far down the track. We could help him get to 500 if he needs be, though. But he's this exact sort of player that you'd want into a new club to set the culture and standards on the field, ideally for a year, and then evolve him into an assistant coach's job. It'd be huge if you could get him. So say if Tassie were coming in 2 years' time, and he plays next year, which sounds like he's going to with Collingwood, so he gets to 420 odd. Absolutely, you'd encourage him to play one if he's still he doesn't lose his pace.
Nah.
And his class. Imagine a class like that to set the standards and culture for the 17, 18-year-olds you bring into your club. I reckon it'd be fantastic. And he's a credit to himself and a credit to his club. How he goes about it.
Durable, super professional, and his reason he got to 400.
You could get him over to the Jack Jumpers too. He's got a basketball background.
Oh, that's right.
Did you know that he played basketball? It's not mentioned very often.
No, you're right. Actually, he could play in the winter for footy and summer for basketball.
He'd be a busy man.
He would be a busy man.
Busy man. All right, let's move on to the snapshot. We're going to kick Lynchy out. He's not allowed in here for this segment. So Ryan and I will do the snapshot and have a look at our multi.
All the betting trends you need to know from the world of footy. This is the Snapshot.
Rocky, we've kicked old man Lynchy out for this segment.
Yes.
It's time to jump into some betting, as you've already said. Look, I think it's time that we looked at some of the player markets because we haven't touched on the Coleman for probably 6 weeks or so now. Things are getting very interesting. We spoke at the top of the show about GWS and Jesse Hogan. He's come into $3.50 to potentially win the Coleman. I think he's about 3 goals behind the very short price favourite, Charlie Curnow, who's going around at about $1.33 at the moment. Could you advise the punters into backing Hogan just for a little bit of value here?
Oh, I don't think so. I think Curnow, just with their last 4 weeks, I think Carlton, they're no easy beats there, but Collingwood, softer opponent. Hawthorn are playing a lot better, but I think you still kick a couple. West Coast, I think he probably wins it, but it's down to a race of 2. You've got King there as well, who's, if he had been kicking straight, he's had 13 shots the last 2 weeks.
He'd be in it for sure, yeah.
And he'd be right there, and I don't think Harry Mackay will be able to catch him. So I think it's a race in 2. I think Curnow having that slender lead of 3 goals, I think he might be over the line.
Sticking with Curnow, another milestone coming up this weekend, as we've already spoken about, for Scotty Pendlebury. Pretty simple question for you this week, mate. We don't have any player markets to go off of as we're recording this on a Monday. But do you think we're going to see Pendles go off for 25, 30 disposals in this one against Carlton?
We've seen him come off early, I think, just to rest him up for this one. I don't think so. I think 20 plus may be the safe market. I know we don't have markets yet, but I think 20 plus. We've seen him dominate a game earlier in this season. He started on fire. I think it was against the Adelaide Crows where he set up all those goals and kicked 1 or 2 himself. So I would be leaning towards maybe 20. I don't think he's got the big 30 plus in him. I might be wrong. They might feed him, but I think you've got Dacos and those boys that'll run riot and get the high numbers, and Pendles will just have the 20 plus.
Jeez, you're making it hard for the punters here, mate. We're looking for some value. You're not steering us into any.
Well, I've tried to the last couple of weeks. Charlie Cameron 3 plus and Sarong 35 plus, but they let me down. So
yes,
I need to have a crack though, don't I? Let's go Pendlebury 30 plus.
You're doing it. Lock it in.
Yeah, 400th. They're going to feed him.
Yep. All right. There we go. He loves it. Let's see if we can find some value in the top 8 market, because it is that time of year where we got to start looking at the finals picture. Hawthorn have come way in to make the top 8 into $1.45 now, so not a lot of value on offer there, but you can still take $5 for Essendon and $7 for Melbourne. I know you said in the early part of the show that it's basically down to 9 teams, but If I had to talk you into one of these teams, who would it be? Melbourne, Essendon, Collingwood still $17, mathematical chance.
Oh, I don't think Collingwood can. If you had to talk me into one, maybe Essendon. No, not Essendon. No, they can't do it. They've got Sydney, Brisbane,
Just throw up in your mouth a little bit.
Dockers. They've got 3 of the top 4 teams.
Yep.
The way they've been playing, unless they pull a rabbit out of a hat, it's probably Melbourne that you got to give a chance to, only because the Western Bulldogs Sunday game, whether they can get up for it or not, and you don't know what they're going to get. They've got Port Adelaide, Gold Coast, so they potentially can win their last 3 or 4 games, but I think it's down to 9. I think the Hawks are the only ones that can. I don't think they will, but they're probably the only ones that can slip in. If I had to lean into someone though, Melbourne.
Okay, there we go. Let's talk wooden spoon. Well, I guess both of us are kind of hoping that Richmond takes home the spoon just because of our beloved host Dylan will be a very, very sad boy. $1.70 for the Tigers to finish bottom, and then you can take $3.50 for North. Are we happy to take the $1.70 for the yellow and black?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think they will win, although $3.50, you're pretty much taking a head-to-head game this week.
You are, yeah.
So it's probably worth having a little nibble at North Melbourne just in case Richmond get up and about. I don't think they will, but if they do, it's good value there because then they pretty much win the spoon. So I could nearly lean into getting around.
Hedge your bets?
Yeah, okay. Going around that.
Let's jump into the multi now. We're still searching for the second one. Last week I took Brisbane to cover -10.5 against the Gold Coast. That came off. We went bloody close on Charlie Cameron to kick 3+. What happened there?
Well, we kicked the first goal, then unsided for 2.5 quarters, kicked his second, then he snapped around in the start of the last quarter for his third. I was in the commentary box, thought that's done, missed it, pulled it too much, so finished on 2.
He's due to kick a bag though, isn't he?
He is. He's. I sort of went in on him because thinking that he would get it done because he's had a bit of a quieter season. He has bobbed up every now and then, kicked goals, but he's been disappointing this year for what we've seen previously from him.
He has. I also took Fremantle to cover -36.5 against West Coast. I think they only won that by about 33. I don't have it in front of me, but a bad beat. And then you took Caleb Sarong 35+, who again is making a stake for the Brownlow late in the year. Yeah,
won another medal over there, didn't he? So he was outstanding, 35 points. So he missed it by 2 points. So tough beat. And Sarong was a tough beat as well. He was on 20-odd at half-time. I was sort of thinking 40+, here we go. And then he just stopped. So he finished on about 32, 33. But you know what? It's another week. We get another opportunity.
That's it, mate. I like your optimism. Again, we're recording this early in the week, so no player markets. So we're just going heads-to-head bets. I've gone Collingwood +12.5 against the Blues. Big game for Pendles. I think they get up for that one. It pains me to do it, but I've also taken GWS to beat my Hawks down in Canberra. I just think Hawthorn's record down there isn't too great. So taking the $1.75 for the Giants. What have you got?
Back-to-back road trips for the Hawks as well, which you don't often see for a Melbourne club. I'm just going to play line and length here. I'm going to take Fremantle to beat Essendon on Sunday afternoon and Brisbane to beat St Kilda as well. I think they both just get it done. I think Essendon's season will be over. St Kilda playing better footy, but Brisbane get a few troops back and they're probably the most informed team in the competition. Bulletproof
logic right there. To recap, we've got Collingwood to cover against Carlton, the Giants to beat the Hawks, Freo to beat Essendon, and the Brisbane Lions to beat St Kilda, $8.13. Where are we finding that multi, Tom?
On the Neds app in the specials section, I think, and somewhere else. Watch it on YouTube, tell your mates, share it. I'm not sure. It could be everywhere, I know.
Everywhere, mate. This is the most popular multi in the country. Not really. All right, good chat as always, Tommy.
Come on, Lynchy, in you come. Oh, that was a sensational snapshot, that one, Lynchy. I tell you what, if you could gamble, you'd be a big chance to get up this week. So me and Ryan did our best work then in the snapshot. But now it's time for the Pies take on the Blues this Saturday night. Massive clash. Our man, Dylan Leach, he's not here, but he's done a bit of background work a few weeks ago. Had an interview down at Victoria Park, filming some content with Neds, with Mark McClure and Tony Shaw to talk about the two old rivals. And let's have a listen to the full chat here.
You're listening to Ned's AFL Unpopular Opinions.
I just want to put it out there that I think Collingwood and Carlton are best friends and love each other.
I wouldn't have thought so. Nah. Have you been here on a Saturday afternoon?
Well, recently,
Blues
yeah, I
Carlton
saw
coming?
someone walk their dog and it was quite friendly.
Things have changed from when we were really at it. No, we're not friends. The one thing about maybe a little bit of love is that we always played in front of big crowds.
Let me tell you,
Yeah.
there's a lot of respect for the both clubs.
Yeah.
But you haven't won a premiership for a while, until last year.
Oh, in
You haven't won a
2010,
You won 10 as well.
1990. When was your last one? A while ago. And what sort of
20 years.
what sort of bloke would walk into Victoria Park wearing a suit coat? What a joke, these silver spoon blokes, mate. Don't worry about that. All they worry about is who was your former best mate, your Prime Minister? Malcolm Fraser. Oh, that's right, Fraser. All you did was steal his cutlery, you blokes.
Got a little bit of it.
Did you sell it?
Can you
Threw it in the bin.
can you describe the atmosphere here when Carlton and Collingwood did play each other at this
No,
particular
seriously.
ground? Because
No.
these days we're used to a sold out MCG.
Yeah.
But what was it like when it was proper fair dinkum tribal?
You got no idea, seriously. I don't know if you were ever here back in the 70s and 80s.
No, I
but,
wasn't born.
You weren't born?
No, I wasn't.
Well, you should have
You
been
look
born
old.
because you
Oh,
look
thank you, thank you.
Anyway, look, let me tell you, it was awesome. There was vitriol from when you walked in the gate to when you left. I'll give you a bit of mail. I bought a brand new Commodore just before the Collingwood game, and I thought to myself, I'm pretty smart. I'm got this beautiful dog dick red car. I'm driving into to Collingwood, park the car, get out of it, walk inside. I go back after the game, wipe the blades off, 2 tyres down. I've had that's a really good day, you know what I mean? Like a
Mate,
brand
2
new car.
tyres down. I thought you would have lost the 4 wheels. Should have been on
They couldn't
bricks.
carry them out.
Now, Sellers, you're standing here at the site of the Collingwood Social Club.
Yeah.
Now, you would have always been welcome here.
No, they didn't like me much. But I did love Billy Picken. Billy and I used to
Right.
have a very big...
Billy loved you too.
Oh, yeah.
He reckons he had more best on grounds playing on you than any man on earth, he said.
He probably did. But he didn't win any premierships.
No, yeah, you
remember
that's
those?
That's a good comeback. Thanks for that.
Thanks very much. Anyway, so the actual vitriol from the people was extraordinary, you know. And
What kind of heckles do you remember?
do you
are there
reckon
any-
I can't say them, you idiot?
No, just go on.
Do you understand
This is a safe
the
space.
vocabulary of the Collingwood people?
What was it like just walking down the race
No.
after a lot?
No, on the way home, I'll tell you, after one game we played here and we won the game, we run off the ground and there was a Sheila, she's about 5'2", okay? And she's got an umbrella and I'm looking at her and I'm going,
I think that's a woman.
Oh, well,
Yeah, well,
so,
she- you know,
so a
girl
woman
is-
with an umbrella.
I
Yes.
don't know how old she was, 40
Yeah.
or something, I don't know,
Right.
like that. And I'm running off and I'm sort of going this way, she's coming this way. She's got the umbrella and I'm jabbed it into my chest. I'm going,
So that was
Yeah,
that
serious?
was that woman Mary Poppins?
I know, it didn't fly away.
Okay, no worries.
But
I
anyway,
love it.
let me say that she
I think it might have been my mum.
could have been. She was only tiny, like you. Anyway, so there so she jabbed me in the chest, and I grabbed the umbrella and I smashed it over my knee, just threw it on the ground and ran off. I'm going inside and there's blood coming out of my chest. I'm going, what sort of person does that?
What were the showers like, mate? Cold. We used to turn the water.
You used to turn the water
We
off.
turned the hot water off.
They turned off.
Right. So
Only for Carlton. Every other club we thought we'd
they
get
got pressed. They had install a ream.
Yeah,
And
we-
then the other teams
Nah,
just.
they installed
turn the
it.
ticker off, mate. How good
So
was that?
how would you describe Carlton people, Shorey?
Oh, gee, they're a different mob. They're a different mob. They're silver tails.
Right.
Yeah, like I said, suit coat of Victoria Park. Even matter of fact, we even beat them with the naming of their ground. Like they got Princess Park, and we got Queen Elizabeth Park. So Queen Victoria Park. Get what I
Yeah,
mean?
Queen
Got that wrong.
Victoria.
Yeah, I got that
Yeah.
wrong too. So that was a good line, wasn't it? But anyway, yeah, but you know, I don't know. The one thing I loved about playing against them, like I said, we played in front of 80,000
Millions of
crowds,
people, mate.
and we had some good wins. We had, like you said, the grand finals were horrible, but you know, but we made some friendships a bit. Like the only thing I hated these blokes about, we used to have an aftermatch where we go and have a cold beer, and these blokes come in one night and
One
they
day.
drank the whole budget of the
Absolutely.
whole year in one night.
We were thirsty.
We never had an aftermatch again ever after that. It was Carlton
So
who did that.
Carlton ruined the aftermatch
Carlton,
function.
and I think it was the mighty, what do you call it, your mosquito fleet? Half of those blokes there were that pissed they couldn't believe it, but anyway.
Shorey, I
let
want to
me
bring
tell you.
something to your attention.
Yes.
This is Craig McRae. He's currently the coach of Collingwood.
Yeah.
Do you notice anything that's on his polo shirt?
Carlton zero. How can you do
Now,
that?
how do you feel about the fact that the current coach of Collingwood has the words Carlton
Yeah, well,
on his uniform?
I think we sack him. I don't care. Premiership last year. You've forgotten, mate. If you don't win it again this year, he's a nothing. He's a nobody.
Right.
So if you've got Carlton on any sort of thing that's about Collingwood, you're sacking.
Is it more the responsibility of Craig McRae for getting this sponsorship deal, or someone at Collingwood marketing needs to take a good hard
that's
look
a
at
very good
themselves
idea.
for allowing the words Carlton on the Collingwood
I'll
Football Club
say
uniform?
nothing about the Collingwood marketing department who get me some free tickets. So I'll say nothing about them.
So-
that isn't good.
Could you imagine?
You should have a look at the Carlton one. We have full strength. Carlton full strength. Okay. So we don't muck around with the volley
Could you
water.
imagine if
Responsible
if,
drinking? No.
Yes.
If Carlton, I mean, what if Michael Voss had Collingwood as a sponsor on his polo shirt?
He'd be sacked immediately.
Right.
What about some pie company or something like the
you never know.
pies, yeah.
As a coach, you never know
4
when
and
you're going to
20.
get sacked. It could be anything, you know.
Yeah, well, we've both been there.
So-
no,
Because-
you got sacked as captain.
Yeah, of course.
I resigned.
Because
Too
like
smart.
I don't know if this is more about Australian sport, but you know, if you say you're in Glasgow
Yeah.
and you go to Celtic,
Glasgow.
well, here's an example. You go to Glasgow
Scottish. Yeah, I'm
and you go to a Celtic versus Rangers game.
Yes.
There's no
Ian
way you.
Postecoglou, I know the one.
Yeah. There's no way those two are talking together. Players from those two clubs are
Well,
talking to
it's-
each other.
Nah.
It's
There's
pretty
no way.
similar.
There's no way people are having beers together. I think you both like each other.
Well,
I think.
You can't say like, mate. I get a rash when thinking about liking Carlton people, you know, but that's
you
another
can have
thing.
a relationship.
Yeah, it's sort of a distant relationship that we can see each other once, like we're doing this sort of stuff. We know we're
How
both
long
getting
ago did you
paid.
play?
I'm getting paid more than him, so it's
Yeah, that's
fantastic.
fine.
So
Yeah.
that's the Collingwood edge, see?
Right.
That's the Collingwood edge. The smart.
We're paying him in a brown paper bag. That's
we're
the Carlton.
We're the club.
Carlton way
We're
to
the
pay.
club of the people, mate. We're the club of the people.
you?
Yeah, and we're street smart. Where these blokes, you know, well, they even had what was Mike Fitzpatrick. What was he?
It's a Rhodes Scholar.
A
I
Rhodes
don't know
Scholar.
if you've ever heard of that.
What is it? What
Have
is
you
it?
heard? Have Collingwood heard of Year 10?
I don't know about that. I went to year 8, mate.
Oh, that's very good.
Best 3 years of my life for me, Dad.
I reckon you used that gag before.
Oh yeah. Had some great times here though.
Yeah.
Some great games and
Nah.
good, you know, seriously, this crowd when you actually get into that box there.
So
if you
that-
get-
that
they
the-
take you off the ground, the interchange bench.
Turn around, the camera's
around.
over there.
Oh, sorry.
you.
We'll get
Oh, geez.
we'll get you to describe the interchange bench
The
later.
interchange bench was just horrendous.
Yeah.
They threw beer in there. They were throwing things in
No,
there.
it wasn't
they were
beer.
banging
It
the
wasn't beer, mate.
Oh, something else.
It didn't have
Had
a
a
head
bit of
on it.
froth on it. It could have been that. But let me tell you, it was frightening in
It
there.
was just brilliant.
The best place to be was actually on the ground. You can't get killed out in the ground, but you can get killed here.
Now, I just want to ask you about you and Billy Pickett, because this was one of the biggest rivalries within the rivalry.
Yeah.
You know, Billy, he just took mark of the year nearly every time you played against each other. How did it feel?
Felt great. Felt fantastic. We won most times. So it doesn't matter. Look, it's not about me.
isn't it?
This is all about you.
I know that.
Listen, it's always been about
So-
me. But
To go to for some more historical context.
Yeah.
The grand finals. So basically, the rivalry kind of peaked
Who won
with the
that?
grand
Do we have
final.
to?
So obviously, 1970,
79.
79,
Hey, Wayne
81.
Harms. No, hold on. Let's go
81.
back.
So-
Wayne Harms.
Yep.
Everybody knows that ball was out, so we
Yeah,
can
he was
take
out.
that. We
But-
put an asterisk on that one.
But vision emerged last year of an ABC version of that broadcast, and it looked like Harms was clearly in.
ABC, what's that? Australian Broadcasting.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're getting a lot of things right at the moment, aren't they?
Oh, so you're saying it's ABC conspiracy?
No doubt.
You're saying it's ABC bias?
Mate.
hey, seriously,
What?
just cop it on the chin. Will you? It's a crotch. You lost 79.
Yeah, 79.
You lost 80.
Yeah.
You lost 81.
No, 80 was a different club.
I don't give a hoot. You lost 80
Yeah.
against Richmond, and then we beat you again 81.
Yeah.
And you've only just recovered with Craig
Well,
McRae.
it took us another 9 years to get it done another way, but against someone. I wish it was against you, Blake. Oh, I know. We dominated that final series in 1990, but I just thought the one thing, if it could have been Carlton, it would have been Bryn instead of Essendon. That would have been would have made my life.
For the benefit, could you imagine if this year's grand final is Carlton and Collingwood? What would the city of Melbourne be like?
Well, they need a bigger ground.
Yeah.
That's what they need.
Yeah.
And
It'll be done. And you're going to have to open up more standing room. There'll be 125, but there could be 150,000 wanting to get in. But, you'd have to have a bigger ground, but it'd be magnificent.
actually, let me tell you, there's been some great grand finals, and they've all been good. The
Yeah.
close ones, you've lost because of small things. And well, I feel for you, really.
No, you don't. He's a liar. You can see it in his face. You see the sincerity then of how he said
Insincerity.
that. No, I said the lack of.
I got it.
Do you feel that the Carlton-Collingwood rivalry may have dwindled in certainly the past
no doubt.
decade?
You know why?
Because
They
one
were
team
losers,
was
mate.
crap and
They
the
were
other was
crap.
good?
They were crap.
Yeah.
They've been crap for 20 years.
Yeah, I agree.
And now what we've had to do, we've had to become successful again, to make sure that we did our part, and we're trying to pull them along. Matter of fact, we're just trying. Everything we go to the AFL now is how can we help Carlton out to be at least competitive? It's cruel, mate.
Is football better off for Carlton and Collingwood both being good?
Well, I'll tell you, take them out of the occasion here
that's a
and put them
great
somewhere
idea.
else and say, hey,
Hang on,
listen,
are you
how's
imagining
your football going to go now?
Are you imagining a world without Carlton and Collingwood?
Well, let me tell you, if you did that,
Jeez.
they'd start their own
No
league.
VFL, no AFL, mate.
no, mate.
Don't worry about
Done.
that.
That'd be world peace.
Thanks to Dylan for that. Great chat there with Tony Shaw and Mark McClure. Round 21, fast approaching. 2 games on the Friday night. Very interesting. One starting about midnight over there in Perth, the West Coast Eagles and the Gold Coast Suns. Lynchy, what are you looking forward to?
Well, I'll put my Fox footy hat on to start with. I got the Giants Hawthorn. I reckon that's going to be a cracking game and very important for both teams in the lead up to finals. But I think there's not really a dud game across the round. I mean, let's say there's 7 great games. I reckon there's 7 absolutely great games where the result is pivotal.
You're not staying up on Friday night for West Coast Gold Coast?
Well, actually, I will because I better watch the Gold Coast because I do them every week. So, I better watch them as well.
Ryan, what are you looking forward to this weekend?
I'm looking forward to seeing Lynchy down there in Canberra. Have you looked at the temperature there at all, mate? It's a balmy -1.
Is it?
Could be.
I was there that Friday night. It snowed. There was a can't remember who they played, but it was Hawthorn.
I think it was. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was GWS Hawthorn on a Friday night, and fair dinkum at doing the halftime cross. It's snowing and just could hardly talk. I mean, I can hardly talk most of the time, but it was that bloody cold. Yeah, so I've been there when it's been incredibly cold, but yeah, -1, that's fresh.
Yeah, it'll be fresh down there.
What do you like?
Oh, I'm looking forward to North and Richmond, actually.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, the wooden spoon.
North are favourites too.
$1.64 about North Melbourne, $2.26 for Richmond. I think North probably win. They've been playing the better footy, but Richmond may get their first wooden spoon for a number of years, and it's great that Dylan's not here and he can collect his wooden spoon. So. That one, Saturday night as well. I think Saturday night, the 2 games there, obviously we spoke about Carlton, Collingwood, massive game, 90,000+ potentially, but Port Adelaide and the Swans as well. Port, slight favourites heading towards that one.
Bulldogs Melbourne. Cracking game.
Huge.
Typical. That's something the Bulldogs could lose. They shouldn't.
Yeah.
But that's when they sort of cough up and splutter a little bit. So they could lose that one, but that should be a cracking game. I'm genuinely interested in what happens Geelong Adelaide. I think that'll be a great game. You mentioned the other 2 on Saturday night. Essendon Freo. So Essendon to keep their season alive. Freo pushing for a top 4 spot. Lock that away. And Saints, can they keep doing some damage? They've done it like recently. Brisbane will definitely get Harris Andrews back.
Yep.
Probably Jack Payne. So they should be getting back to full strength. So that'll be an interesting game too.
A few stocks to come back in there. Ryan, before we wrap it up, the multi this week and where they can find it, the punters out there.
Well, Rocky, you can find it in the special section on the Neds app. This week we're recording this on a Monday, so we don't have any player markets to go through. So we've only gone head-to-head bets this week. We've got Collingwood plus 12.5 against Carlton. We've got the Giants to beat the Hawks, Freo to beat Essendon, and the Brisbane Lions to beat St Kilda, $8.13.
Ooh, $8.13. We were very ordinary last week, Lynchy. We
How
only got
many
one.
you won?
We've only won one. We've been close a couple of times.
Oh,
You sorely missed, but of course you
that's
took
right. I'm
that
happy.
job on the board at Tasmania.
How dare you.
Took on the free job on the board. That's probably where it saved me. So I can't bet on footy.
Well, thanks for tuning in. Tell all your friends out there, like, subscribe, download the podcast. It's on the Listener app. Catch it every Tuesday afternoon throughout the footy season. Lynchy, thanks for joining
Thank
me.
you. Have a great weekend.
Ryan, thanks again.
Thanks, Rocky. Good job today, mate.
Well done, and enjoy the week.
Thanks for listening to Ned's AFL Unpopular Opinions. Enjoyed the podcasts? Remember to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.